Hello again. So this is Dr. Satish Ram. So in the last video, like you have seen about how you can send emails. Okay, what is an email and what is its how you represent its header and body, etc. Now let us try to look at this sort of MIME, multi-purpose internet mail extensions, what it is, how it is actually used, and then so and so. So internet email was originally designed for this sort of US ASCII characters. Okay, so which are 7 bits length. Okay, how to be able to transmit more complex messages. Okay, so that's a big problem. Say for example, like you want to put some attachments into the mail. Okay, I mean this is something like which you are regularly doing. You are attaching files to your email, or like some videos, okay, some pictures, photos, etc., isn't it? You will be doing all these things. How do we be able to put all this information into an email message? Okay, so for that one, like we need this sort of multi-purpose internet mail extensions, which is MIME. Okay, so this actually improved this sort of email message format. But then, like there are several constraints associated for this MIME. Okay, say for example, if you create a new service, completely a new email, okay, we could have defined much better approach. But the thing is, like there are several traditional email servers which actually are well versed with processing these sort of US ASCII characters. So these MIME extensions thus end up with several constraints. Okay, they should be still be able to be compatible with these sort of old email servers. That is one big problem. Okay, as I already mentioned, like most of these servers still support these US ASCII characters and then like shorter lines. Okay, short lines actually. And this sort of MIME should also be able to support non-English text. Okay, say for example, if somebody wants to write a mail in Telugu, or like say for example in Hindi, okay, how do we be able to write? Okay, so the characters set must be beyond this sort of 7 bits of US ASCII. Okay, so that is one issue which we should be considering. Further, this MIME should support various formats in a single message. Okay, say for example, like an email will contain the message body and also the attachments, isn't it? So you should not be sending two mails for that one. Okay, say for example, one mail containing this message body and the mail for this attachment. Okay, it cannot happen. Okay, then it is not an ideal solution. So MIME should be able to send both these types in a single message. Okay, and it should also allow to transmit this sort of audio and video messages. Okay, and when you are trying to send these messages, it is also interesting if you can actually identify the type of the content which is actually being sent there. Okay, that's also would be very interesting, and MIME actually supports all these things. Okay, but how do MIME supports these things? The solution lies with you can add additional optional fields in the header. Okay, in addition to the basic things which you have discussed in the last video. Okay, so you can put these additional fields in the header, not just the header. At sometimes, like you may also have to put some of these optional fields in the body as well, message body as well. I will give you an example when we go through the next slides. So what are these new headers? Okay, so some of the new headers, okay, so most of them are actually discussed here. The first one is this sort of MIME version. Okay, the version of the MIME that is being used to encode the messages here. Okay, that's very important thing. Currently we have this 1.0 version. Okay, so which we are actually using MIME version 1.0. And then there is also a header field for content description. Okay, so comment describing the content of the message. Okay, so that's also the important one. And the most critical one is this sort of content type, which actually defines this type of information within this message. Okay, and then there is this content transfer encoding, how the message has to be encoded. Okay, I will give you an example for this one. And then like the content ID, which actually uniquely identifies this sort of content, or say for example this email. Okay, so this content within this email. So let's look at this sort of content type header in a little bit detail. Okay, so this is a very critical one. Okay, so the content type basically has two parts. One is the type part, another one is the encoding part. The type of the content is actually put in this sort of type, okay, place. Okay, so the types can be like text, message, image, video, application, or can be multi-part. Okay, we'll see the examples for that. So then the encoding can be, it can be a plain HTML. So now the content type will be, you will define something like this. The header will be content type colon text slash plain or text slash HTML. So it is a text type text and then like encoding of HTML. Similarly, image slash GIF, image slash JPG, audio basic, okay, video, video QuickTime, video MPEG, okay, and then like you can also define like applications, okay. Say for example, Octet stream or like application PostScript. So if you define like content application PostScript, what you are trying to say is like whatever that you are trying to send that message, okay, it's a PostScript application. So then the receiving server, the receiving application, email application, actually can open this PostScript application using relevant application using which like you can actually open this sort of PostScript documents. Okay, so you can define like that one. Okay, so these are some of the examples. And then like the other types of this sort of content type are this multi-part slash alternative. The what it says is like the message can contain like several times the same information with different encodings. Okay, say for example, the same message written in English, the same message written in Telugu, the same message written in English. If you want to send it in a same email, okay, so you need to put this multi-part slash alternative. And then like you can also put this sort of multi-part slash mixed, okay. So this mixed actually uses like this message contains several information of different types, okay. Say for example, earlier I gave the example like the email may contain like the text of the message body and also the attachment. You have to put both the things together. So then in the header, like you have to define this sort of content type multi-part slash mixed, okay. So this is some of the content type headers. Now let us look at this multi-part slash mixed because this is interesting. So you need to have different information, okay, have to be put in the same email message. Now the interesting thing is like you have defined the header, great. The header is content type multi-part slash mixed, okay. Then how do you place these different types of content within this body? Say for example, you have to attach both this sort of message as well as the attachment into that one, okay. If you remember from the previous video, the email basically contains like the headers, a space, okay, CRLF, and then like the body. Within the body, like if you want to have multiple subparts within this body, how do you define? Will you be able to separate it with a new line? The message may itself have separate new lines, okay. See, dividing it by a CRLF will not work there, okay, that's a problem. Alternatively, you can put like say for example a specific text, okay, stating like end of message of type 1, okay, and then like with you can define it with certain stars or like hyphens so that like you can actually divide. Say for example there are multiple parts, you have the first part in the body and then like you have this line which you can actually define, and then like you can actually put the next part and so and so again that line, and then like put the third part. Great, it works. But the problem is sometimes people may also have this sort of message within their email. Then this the application completely gets confused, okay. So how do you use them then? Okay, how do you support this sort of place different contents with this encoding? So this MIME basically comes with this one, an extension to this sort of content type. Along with multi-part slash mixed, you can actually put like a random text, which is used as a boundary here. The boundary is in this case like it is simple boundary. Okay, the email application chooses this one randomly. If you choose it randomly, it basically matching with whatever the message which the user has written is a little bit lesser. Okay, the probability is a little bit less. So in this case again, so the content type you define a simple boundary. Again in the body, like you are defining this sort of header, okay, content type text slash plain, okay. So and then like this is for the first type, okay, first message, okay, so it can be body 1 and the second one can be this sort of attachment, again separated by this sort of simple boundary, okay, which was a random text chosen by that application for that particular time. Great. So now we have seen like how we can actually put attachments into the files, and then like how you can have multiple types of content, and then like different text files you can add, different image files you can add. We have seen the headers. But one thing which we have not yet discussed is how to support multiple languages. Okay, so how to support this sort of rich character set? Okay, that's a big problem. The basic content type which email was originally using was this character set US ASCII, which is an ASCII, okay, American standards for this sort of characters, okay, so which was a 7 bits. So that means like it could fit only 128 bits, okay, which is still default, so which actually supports most of the English characters, and then like the numbers, and then like whatever you have on the keyboard, most of them, okay, but they were not sufficient. So then there was an extension, which is like this ISO 88591 character set. Okay, this character set is suitable for most of these Western European languages. Okay, based on this Latin. Okay, so I don't know whether you know there will be certain characters, like say for example on have you ever seen like U umlaut? Okay, say for example on U there will be two dots. It's in German it is called U. Okay, so these sort of characters, they could still fit into this sort of ISO 8851. So still this text slash plain set ISO, this actually supports this one. So this is 8 bits characters. Great. But then like we wanted to put write mails in our Telugu and then like Hindi, etc. Isn't it? For these sort of things, you need these sort of Unicode characters. So universal character set. This is defined by the ISO. It's a 16 bits per character, okay, which actually could support most of these languages. Okay, so so 16 bits per character. Great. Now the point is, you have this mail composed. Say for example, you put this header content type text slash plain, okay, and then like char set this Unicode, and then like you have written the message in Hindi or Telugu. Now if you want to send this email, what we have earlier discussed is like most of the email servers, okay, actually recognize only those 7-bit ASCII characters. Okay, so what you have to do is when you are actually sending the message out, okay, you can compose this message, you can put all these headers, okay, say for example this content type header you put like with this Unicode, and then like which actually states like it is coming with special characters, that email, before this mail actually leaves your server. Okay, so that means like before the it reaches that mail server, okay, what it has to do is like the message whatever you have composed has to be encoded into this US ASCII 7-bit characters. So that means like you take your current message and you actually convert it into this sort of US ASCII 7-bit characters. There are several encoding mechanisms for that one. Base 64 encoding is one of the very good ones. Okay, why it is base 64? Because base 64 actually supports only 64 characters. Okay, so this one actually supports A to Z capital letters, A to Z small letters, which will be like 26 by 2, 52, and then like you have these numbers 0 to 9. Okay, so which will be 10. Okay, so 52 plus 10, 62 plus 2 more, the plus and the slash. That's all. It supports only these 64 characters. So whatever the message which you have written, your email message, you have to encode it into this base 64 characters. So these 64 characters before you actually send the message over the internet. Then how do you actually convert the regular message, even Unicode characters, okay? And how you be able to transfer, convert them to base 64 encode and then like transfer over the internet. So base 64, say for example, since for the 64 characters, you need only 6 bits. For any of these 64 characters which we have discussed here, you need only 6 bits. So then what it does is, in the original message, email message, whatever you are sending, it takes 3 bytes of information. Okay, you got the point? So if you take say for example, the whole file is like bytes in the order. Okay, so all whole message is bytes in the order. Then you actually do is like you take 3 bytes, which is like 24 bytes, isn't it? So you take these 24 bits, and you actually split it into 4 blocks of 6 bits each. Got the point? So you take 24 bits from these 3 bytes, you divide them into 6 bits each, and represent each 6 bits with one of these 64 characters of the base 64. That's it. So that means like your 3 bytes is actually converted into like 4 characters, okay, long, and that is what you actually send it, which perfectly fits into this US ASCII 7-bit characters, and which can be decoded at the server side. So again, like this base 64 message basically goes there, and it takes the base 64 encoding. You can actually reverse the process, and you can actually extract the perfect message, including, say for example, images, videos, whatever are attached to this file. However, there is a small problem. Okay, so I said like 3 bytes you take, okay, and then like you will actually divide it into this group of 4 bits, 6 bits each. Okay, now the point is, what happens if at the end like you are ending up with only 1 byte or 2 bytes? Interesting problem, isn't it? If you end up with 1 byte or 2 byte, you will pad the remaining, whatever is remaining of these sort of 24 bits with zeros, and you actually define, okay, at the end, like for this base 64 message, whatever you are sending, you will put this special character which is equal to. This is used for padding. So if your message at the end had only 1 byte, you will put 2 equal to, so that means like 2 bytes are zeros actually. Okay, if you have 2 bits there, okay, 2 bytes there at the end, okay, in this file whatever you are trying to convert to base 64 encoding, then you will put 1 equal to at the end. Okay, so that's the padding which you do. Thank you very much. So that is how like you actually use MIME and encoding. Okay, again the references, once again, like this book is very good. Okay, so read this book by Bonaventure. Okay, even the slides are being adapted from his slides. Okay, so that's why they are actually released under CC BY SCA license. Okay, I am also putting 2 very good videos, YouTube links. Okay, what is base 64 encoding? You can actually check this YouTube link. Okay, so very good ones. And then like the other one is like this ASCII and Unicode character sets. So I strongly encourage all of you to read this chapter, at the same time like check through these YouTube videos. Okay, thank you.